But I see these leftists that believe all this BS, and I just worry about them as things unravel. They are going to get crazier and crazier and crazier because they will believe any lie they're told, and they believe being delusional is powerful and is strong. Can you imagine being, on average, a community college person that's usually blue collar, being manipulated by some communist professor who's able to brainwash you in your town, say Denver, to go 2 hours outside town to another town, we're about to show you footage, and walk into a lower middle class, working class area.
Hawaii Senator Hirono and her cult would sacrifice as many Americans as it takes to seize one-party Marxist control over a republic.
Antifa is an anarcho-communist movement whose goal is to use physical violence and intimidation to terrorize American citizens, to disengage them from the political process. While they do this under the cover of anti-fascism, the reality is that Antifa defines the entire American political system, regardless of party affiliation, as fascism.
In the West, in Oregon, in Washington, in Colorado, maybe 10 Antifa thugs go into neighborhoods reportedly and started smashing people's stuff because it was known as mainly a white suburb. If you're receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance. Live from the Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
I want to say something that I only say every 6 months or so, but I want to make it super clear because it's really my ethos and what I stand for. I know it's what you stand for as well. I've been on air 26 years, and very early on, people would send me letters and they'd say, "You're scaring my wife, or you're scaring my brother, or my father, or my husband, or my son, and I wish you'd stop telling them all this stuff because now they're obsessed with you, and you know, our life's changed, and why are you trying to scare my family?" If I hear dogs barking at 2 a.m., this happened back when I was a kid, dog was barking, and the house next to us was on fire. And I was like 10 years old, and I got everybody up, and the fire department came. We watched the neighbor's house get put out. I wasn't being a fearmonger when the dog's barking and going crazy to get up and to go look out the window, and the neighbor's house has got red flames shooting out of the roof. I wasn't a hero either. I was like, "Good job, kid. Well, you good, you know, this could have gotten a lot worse," because the neighbors didn't even know their house was on fire because they were asleep in the downstairs. They were old people. Some electrical fire. But people think, "Oh, Jones is a fear porn dealer. Yeah, he just, likes to scare people." I've made the films with the college documents where they said they will break up the family and sterilize children with transgenderism in the 60s. I had retired high-level FBI agents tell me that the government was run at high level by devil worshippers and who they were. Turns out it was true. You think I'm happy about this? As God is my witness, I've never consciously lied to anybody about politics and issues. Have I lied to a girlfriend I'm cheating on her and stuff like that? Hell yes, I have. I don't do that anymore, and I repent of it. But you can now see I didn't make any of this up. and sometimes I was wrong about things, and 9 times out of 10, literally, it's way worse than I thought, okay? So I don't tell you all of this because I'm trying to scare you. I think you're like me. If somebody's coming to mug me or kill me or hurt me, I want the bad news now because I want to be ready for it. I want the worst news up front. I want to face it. And I know you're the same way. But I see these leftists that believe all this BS, and I just worry about them as things unravel. They are going to get crazier and crazier and crazier because they will believe any lie they're told, and they believe being delusional is powerful and is strong. Can you imagine being, on average, a community college person that's usually blue collar, being manipulated by some communist professor who's able to brainwash you in your town, say Denver, to go 2 hours outside town to another town, we're about to show you footage, and walk into a lower middle class, working class area And the people that come out of these houses, you know, look like Dolph Lundgren or something, some of them. You know, like 6'7" I mean, imagine being 5 or 6 thugs and you think you're going to go into a black neighborhood, a mixed neighborhood, white neighborhood. You just think you're going to go in a neighborhood and start breaking things and that people aren't going to come out and kick your ass. You're probably going to get killed. But imagine how stupid they are. It happened in at least 3 towns in the West, in Oregon, in Washington, in Colorado. Maybe 10 Antifa thugs go into neighborhoods reportedly and started smashing people's stuff because it was known as mainly a white suburb. Imagine the nerve of these crazy people. We have footage of them blocking roads and people's cars and then pulling guns on them in another town. So I'll narrate this for radio listeners that can't see it. Go ahead and roll the audio. We've bleeped it. Video's up on Infowars.com. Antifa gets beat down after invading suburban neighborhood. Here's the video. Start rolling it.
Good job. Don't do that.
Hey, you're just expecting a better dude.
Now, look, there's an old guy in a wheelchair out there with him trying to stop it. And the little commies try to threaten him. Roll it full screen. And these thugs, these white trash, literally think acting tough's going to intimidate this mob that's ready to kill them.
We gotta go. We got a kid. We got a birthday party on this side. All right, get on there.
And so what happens is that by the end, one of the Antifa.
So we are currently marching the Antifa commie bastards out of the neighborhood.
Antifa party.
Nobody wants Antifa in the neighborhood. Nobody wants them here, so we're marching them out.
Go. We will. As soon as you guys step away from the houses, we're gonna leave. Hey, guys, you guys, Patriots.
And then reportedly they try to attack somebody so they get their asses beat.
Bye-bye, commie scum. Bye-bye. Go home. Bye-bye. Oh, here we go.
So they get their asses beat. And the crowd's very restrained.
Keep about to get tangled. Oh, my. You guys came to the wrong city, boys and girls.
Let's go. Come on. Go. Everybody keep their hands off their weapons.
Copy that.
Keep punching each other in the face. Just
And look, this woman starts hitting the guy in the head from behind, and then she can't believe one of them grabs them. Oh, they're so tough.
There you go.
One guy pulls a knife, so they pin him down with the American flag. Give him a nice knockout blow.
Grabbing a knife. Commie grabbing a knife. Oh, commies go home. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
That's what happens when the kids play with big boys.
So here's the deal. This is not Russia, where the poor Russians are tough folks, but they've been under serfdom under the czars for 500 years. This is not Nazi Germany. This is not communist China, where people have been raised and bred and trained to follow orders. This is an armed camp of pirates. And when the veneer of civilization gets pulled back, the communists trying to run their old playbook are going to run into the Second Amendment. And so they could take Trump out. Then they're going to false flag stuff and say that we've done it to make us look bad. Obviously, we're not going to blow up black colleges. We're not going to do all that crap. We don't want to do that. We love the black colleges. Trump doubled their funding. So, and this is actual Antifa, Black Lives Matter blocking roads. This is in Colorado, just where they've shot people in the head at these things, blocking the roads. And there's so much cussing, I can't play this. And imagine they just block the road and then start pulling guns on random people on the road. Now, here's Colorado, where they drive out the Antifa. There's so much cussing, we can't play the audio here, but it's on Infowars.com. Which citizens and their horses just drive them out of the way. And so what's going to happen is, as the police stand down because they're ordered to, the citizens are going to take things in their own hands, and the public's not going to be ashamed of folks that defend themselves. They're going to be proud of them, and it's going to cause a chain reaction. It's just like this creep out there running checkpoints, aiming guns at people who got killed, trying to make him a big victim and a martyr. Nobody's buying that crap. He went out pointing guns at people and got killed. Because you know how many Army veterans, or you name it, are just citizens that have been pushed around in their life, who, that you pull a gun on somebody, they're going to kill you. You pull a gun on me, I'm going to grab a gun and shoot you. I mean, they're not going to, you point a gun at me, unless there's like an alarm at my house and the cops come and got their guns out. Then I'm like, hey, guys, but if you're a random person and you aim a gun at me, I'm going to kill you. This isn't LARPing. This isn't fantasy world where you're playing video games all day. This is a real world. And you've taken America's restraint as weakness, just like the guy that got killed in Austin a few weeks ago pointing his guns at people at random checkpoints they set up. He said, oh, they're a bunch of wimps, bunch of pussies. He says, I'm going to go out and intimidate them. He goes, I like intimidating people. Yeah, well, you came up, you blocked the car, you beat on it, you pointed your gun at somebody, you died. You got shot 5 times in the chest. You were dead on arrival at the hospital. And now who's going to take care of your quadriplegic girlfriend? Not you. So this is the nature of all these little weird, grown-in-the-dark, glow-in-the-dark leftists that Soros and all them are boiling out. But you ask yourself, why are they so arrogant? Why don't they stop when they're so pathetic? Because Soros hasn't been stopped, and Obama hasn't been stopped, and Pelosi and all these Chi-Com agents. And so they're going to make their move on Trump. They're going to push it so far that they're all going to get cleaned out constitutionally. They're the police state. They're the tyranny. Under law, us clearing out enemies and those that want to destroy the country, that's called justice. And believe me, it's coming one way or another. No matter what you do to me or Trump or anybody else, we have the Second Amendment. We have the truth. You're done. Hour 2 coming up. Remember when Adler said that Antifa doesn't exist?
Raw and unfiltered. It's the Alex Jones Show.
He said it didn't exist. He's gaslighting you. He's insulting you. When they fund it, they run it as the cover for their real violent revolution. But like everything these losers do, now that America's awake, it's falling apart. Here is basically the whole report, almost all of it. Antifa is not a myth. It's a very, very important report. Here it is.
I think self-defense can look violent if you're looking at it as the person who responds in self-defense is as culpable, but we don't see it that way. We see ourselves as engaging in self-defense from groups who want to do our community harm.
The mayor decried the violence, calling those responsible vigilantes. The police video showed one person dumping out a backpack with what appeared to be frozen water bottles, which were then thrown at officers. Demonstrators also hurled fireworks, one sergeant suffering a broken eye socket from the shrapnel. Police said the PVC pipe used to hold the Black Lives Matter banners had been sharpened and were taken out and used to jab at officers.
You disavow the violence from Antifa? That's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth.
Are you serious? You'll die out here, bro. You'll die out here. You hear that?
Breaking news in the so-called Capitol Hill organized protest zone. There's been yet another shooting. Early this morning, protesters finished a march back to Cal Anderson Park when they say gunshots were fired nearby.
There were different reasons for Antifa and for these neo-Nazis to be there. One, racist, fascists.
I do not make any differentiation between neo-Nazis and Antifa. Just because they claim in their name that they are anti-fascist, their tactics are in fact totally fascist.
One of the
people
groups
who
was
put on
created to kill people they don't like. The other group,
and so was
Black
Antifa.
Lives Matter,
Antifa
has hangers-on and aberrant actors within their ranks. But the groups were not created to destroy parts of humanity.
I do have all these people. Because we're done with people like you.
Antifa is not a myth.
The Democrats' refusal to acknowledge the obvious violence spreading like a cancer from the Trump-hating, Soros-funded brown shirts terrorizing America borders on treason.
There was no anarchist violence in Lafayette Square. In fact, the only ones using force were federal law enforcement agents.
I'm standing out the front of the White House, and you can see that the building behind me is still smoldering. The fire brigade has just arrived to try to extinguish that. They've been kept busy with a number of spot fires in this area. There was an impromptu bonfire on the street here behind me. There were a number of cars set alight. Even a hotel, the front of our hotel, was set alight, and what was really terrifying scenes. This all happened in the minutes leading up to the 11 p.m. curfew. This is the first time that Washington, D.C. has had a curfew in place, and you could really feel the tension rising between the protesters and the police in the minutes leading up to it.
Portland is another clear example where federal agents use excessive and indiscriminate force to break up people gathered to peacefully protest.
If we had done nothing, what would have happened to the courthouse, Mr. Cuccinelli, in Portland?
That courthouse wouldn't be there in any function.
So I challenge anybody on the other side to say differently. If we hadn't intervened, they'd burn the damn thing down.
Hawaii Senator Hirono and her cult would sacrifice as many Americans as it takes to seize one-party Marxist control over a republic.
Antifa is an anarcho-communist movement whose goal is to use physical violence and intimidation to terrorize American citizens, to disengage them from the political process. While they do this under the cover of anti-fascism, the reality is that Antifa defines the entire American political system, regardless of party affiliation, as fascism. The most basic structure of Antifa is the affinity group, which is described by the pro-Antifa website CrimeThink as the essential building block of anarchist organization. It's a small cell of individuals who are known to one another, who agree to come together to participate in direct actions. Those include sabotage, vandalism, and premeditated assault.
I came there with my GoPro and my iPhone to record, and I was beaten by a mob, people who use brass knuckles that were hidden under gloves, punching me repeatedly in the front, the top, and the back of my head.
They are winning. They're winning because universities are now effectively blocking conservative and opposing speakers. They're winning because the media and politicians downplay such violence. They're winning because local authorities are ordering police to stand down or prosecutors to drop charges. And they're winning because free speech is being treated as a destabilizing or threatening factor in our schools and society.
After crime rates chronically skyrocket in the wake of the George Floyd debacle, the Black Lives Matter mob can do no wrong.
Democrats want to ignore the violence of Antifa. They want to ignore the violence on the left, and they just scream white supremacists, rather than condemn violence from wherever it is coming. The 277 injuries of federal law enforcement officers in Portland are coming from the left, and not a single Democrat on this committee acknowledges that.
Soros-funded St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner didn't charge any of the 36 rioters that St. Louis police officers arrested during recent violent protests, and as a result, they were all quickly released. While Seattle rioters are suing the city of Seattle over the expense of their protest gear, Portland prosecutors are reportedly not charging arrested Antifa-connected agitators. Meanwhile, the protesters in Portland have moved from the federal courthouse to the local police precinct to burn that down. In yet another peaceful protest, the Democrats' campaign of political gaslighting and local prosecutors aiding and abetting of the anti-American subterfuge only means many more businesses will burn and many more innocents will die.
It's been 3 weeks now since Jessica Doty Whitaker was killed, shot on the canal, and still no arrests. Friends and family today calling for someone with information, anyone, to come forward. She died the early morning after Independence Day after reportedly getting into an argument with another group on the canal. Shortly after she was shot, they reportedly said to the group that all lives matter, and that's what led to the gunfire. That's according to people that were with Whitaker.
Like their predecessors in the Weather Underground and Red Army faction, Antifa will continue to escalate its behavior unless it is checked. There will be more attacks, and rioting techniques will continue to grow in capability and in sophistication. Their cadres will grow, and there will be more autonomous zones for increased periods of time. And more Americans of all political persuasions will be terrorized.
The name of the current political game, especially in an election year, is to look the other way, no matter how many are blinded, injured, or murdered.
So I hope this is...
Let's stop right there. There's a minute or so left. The full report's at band.video. It's so incredible. Antifa is not a myth. Share it, expose these people. But look, it's deeper than that. And John did a great job. But there's another whole level. It's the cover for the upcoming overthrow of the president, and then burning down the cities, and then having Democrats break up the United States and try to have the military take out Trump. This has to stop now. Podesta is officially, New York Times admits, wargaming, having states secede under popular vote and say that Biden is the president. Okay, I don't want war. I don't want to go grab these people, but they're grabbing us. They started it. And I mean, this is out of control. I've talked to the EMS and I've talked to medical doctors, and what makes you nauseated, it's not just the smell of piss. What we call the smell of bum piss, it has that sweet, nauseating smell. It's almost like sweet. Well, it does. It's a sweet stench. It makes me want to throw up like rotten meat. It is the crap of dust mites.
Have you noticed the stench of bum piss in your leftist-run neighborhoods? The crap of dust mites in bum piss is a real thing, and InfoWars Store has the solution. InfoWars has created the most powerful herbal lung cleanse and respiratory support product on the market. With over 1,000 types of mold and mildew, toxic chemicals, and yes, dust mites. Our Lung Cleanse Plus, made with organic and wild cultivated herbs, is just what you need to survive the unprecedented surge of bum piss and other toxic substances in liberal leftist cities everywhere. Order the InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse Plus supplement today at InfoWarsStore.com.
Introducing InfoWars Life Pure Turmeric Extract. This is taken under the tongue. It is pure turmeric. It goes together very well with our body's ultimate turmeric formula that is taken as a powdered capsule and absorbed in the stomach and intestines. This is absorbed under the tongue into the bloodstream, and then the remaining also is then absorbed by the stomach. So it's more of an intense delivery system. The two formulas are different, but both are concentrates, and our first product got rave reviews. We've now been testing this out for several months. Some of our staff like it more than bodies, some like bodies better. For me, they're both amazing for their anti-inflammatory action and so much more, and they fund the InfoWar. So get our new liquid turmeric extract exclusively at InfoWarsStore.com today. Get an additional 25% off. This is a 360 win. Turmeric is renowned for what it does for all of our bodies, for inflammation and so much more. Get yours today at InfoWarsLife.com.
Hey, you there. The battle for the Republic is on. The American Revolution 2.0 is happening right now. But the corrupt establishment doesn't want you to know, and they certainly don't want you to get involved. But you can at band.video. The truth lives at band.video. The information they don't want you to see is at band.video. This is your destiny. This is the epic battle for the future of humanity. America will survive as long as you fight. I've got to go.